Welcome to SBME Interfaces. Our goal with this show is to introduce you to the people that interface with biomedical engineering, from students and faculty to staff and industry, and everyone in between. BME is a broad field that encompasses so many different perspectives, journeys, skill sets, and backgrounds, and we are excited to share them all with you.
We're very excited today to be interfacing with Andrew Szeri. He's the current Provost and Vice-President at UBC and holds an appointment in mechanical engineering. He received his master's and PhD in theoretical and applied mechanics from Cornell University. Prior to UBC, he was at the University of California, Berkeley, most recently as Vice Provost for Strategic Academic and Facilities Planning. He also served for 7 years as Dean of the Graduate Division. While at Berkeley, he was in the Department of Mechanical Engineering, teaching in areas of fluid mechanics and nonlinear dynamics. He has won several research awards, 4 teaching awards, and a recent award for excellence in student mentoring. Welcome, Andrew.
Pleasure to be here.
So I am particularly interested in your portfolio and how it's essentially reacted to the past 13, 14 months or so. It must have definitely put a bit of a pipe into the spokes of planning and budgetary processes and that sort of thing. So when you were faced with that, what was the top priority for you, especially when the word went out that we were shutting down?
Well, clearly, absolutely, the safety of faculty, staff, and students. I mean, that is by far the overriding consideration in everything that we're doing. We understand safety to be multifaceted. At the same time that safety considerations can drive us to remote instruction when the pandemic is raging, we also have to be worried about student mental health issues that are associated with a sense of disconnection from the university and from their peers. And so there are sometimes countervailing considerations with respect to the safety of our faculty, staff, and students, but that's by far the most important thing we have in mind.
That's great. So going a little bit, a few years back now, what drew you to come to UBC?
I would say a very persuasive colleague. So I was chairing a committee in the Academic Senate at Berkeley that has to do with graduate education. And this persuasive colleague of mine, her name unfortunately was Marianne Mason. She passed away earlier this year. She was dean of the graduate division at Berkeley, and she asked me if I wouldn't mind working with her on a time-limited project that would last 1 year. And the project was to develop all of the data that we would supply to the most important national ranking project for graduate programs in the United States. So this is the National Research Council Survey of Doctoral Programs. They do that about every 10 or 15 years, and it was coming up at that time. And so I signed on as a part-time associate dean, and my role was to interface with all of the academic disciplines at Berkeley, work with them to develop data about their programs in the right format, and all of the information about the faculty, their CVs, and so on, awards they have won, and to provide that to the National Research Council. Well, the outcome was really pretty terrific. Berkeley emerged as the university in the United States with the largest number of doctoral programs, with rankings that ranged into the top 5. So we were really, really happy with that result. It didn't take 1 year, it took 2 years. And then Marianne stepped down, and I was persuaded to put my name in for the possibility to succeed her, and one thing led to another.
Mm-hmm. What brought you to BC and after that?
Well, when I was Dean of Graduate Studies, one of the innovations that we brought into being was a big survey that we did of our doctoral graduates. And The key really was to find out about their career trajectories. And so we were surveying people 5 years out from the PhD, 10, 20, 30, and even 40 years out from their PhD. It was really a groundbreaking study, and it got a lot of attention. And it even got attention as far away as Vancouver, British Columbia, where Susan Porter read about our work and invited me to join for a conference that she was running. That was my first real introduction to the university, and I was quite enamored of it right away, and started following the work of people here. And yeah, I mean, it's UBC is really in a tremendous position when you look at it objectively. It has really strong provincial government support. It has very strong interest from students in a whole host of disciplines. It has great strength across a whole host of disciplines in terms of its research and educational offerings. It has a gigantic responsibility in terms of education of something like 70,000 students a year that we educate. It has an enviable position on Canada's Pacific coast. So there's this very east meets west quality to the place. It has so many things going for it. And really, that's what ultimately drew me here.
That's great. Can you tell us a little bit more about your current role for people that don't know what a provost and a vice-president academic does?
Yes, mostly Provost and Vice-President Academic tries to stay out of the news. It's a lot of background work, essentially focused on supporting the academic mission of the university. So just as the directors of schools and the heads of academic departments report to deans, deans have to report somewhere. They report into the role that I occupy right now. And also reporting to me are all sorts of academic infrastructural pieces like IT and the library and registration and enrollment services and Vice Provost International and Center for Teaching and Learning Technology and so forth. The list is long. So it's I would say it's a complicated job because there are many things to keep your eye on. But to me, it is a very gratifying position. I very much like connecting needs with capacities or opportunities with people who know how to make something of them. And so in my nearly 4 years here at UBC, I've had great fun learning so much about this institution, which enables me to make those connections. And so I do find it very gratifying.
That's great. And we also had the pleasure of talking to Ananya a couple of days ago from UBC also.
Yeah.
It's nice to have you get your perspective.
Yes, we commiserate every once in a while, perhaps daily, because we face many of the same challenges. She on the Okanagan campus and me here. And principal among those in the last 14 months has been the teaching mission of the university, organizing to execute that in a time of great change and continuing uncertainty.
Right.
Have you always been attracted to the administrative side of academia, or was there like a point where the system tipped and you went that way?
Oh no, I skillfully avoided any entanglements with administration for many years at Berkeley. So I was there for 20 plus years. I don't know exactly how many. And only for about half the time was I involved in administration there. And during that time that I was involved in administration, I was still having a laboratory and students and writing my research grants and publishing my papers and so forth. Yes, there was a watershed moment. I did a sabbatical in 2000, 2001 in Berkeley, courtesy of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. In Germany, courtesy of the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation. This was in the ancient university town of Göttingen in the middle of Germany, essentially. At the Third Physics Institute, I had such a terrific time there. And I remember flying back from my sabbatical back home to Berkeley and thinking to myself that the life of pursuit of my research and teaching my students and writing my papers and securing my research funding, that felt just a little bit more inwardly focused for me than was getting comfortable with. And so I decided, okay, I'm going to branch out a little bit and try to become a little bit more outwardly focused. And that's really what ultimately led to administration.
Great. So the School of Biomedical Engineering was, I think, established right when you started your term or around then. So how do you feel we're doing, and what do you think the long-term impacts of it can be, especially that it's a interfaculty spanning program at UBC?
Well, if you look at the kind of research that I've been doing over the last decade, especially, it's been quite focused on things like medical devices, drug delivery. So I have great familiarity with the kind of work that goes on in SBME. I have a great, I hold that kind of work in very high esteem. I think it's an easy place for a faculty member to work, to find students who are very talented and very committed to what they're doing, because there's an obvious upside of that research in terms of beneficial impacts you can have upon society. And so I think SBME has terrific prospects. I mean, if you take a look at the last 14 months, how human society has developed, or how it has become clear that human society has such a profound dependence on science of vaccine development, but also science that informs public health guidelines in this pandemic. Also testing, development of rapid testing for understanding the extent of the vaccine, looking for variants. I mean, there are all kinds of ways in which we have seen how important a whole host of technologies and techniques that SBME is heavily involved in, how important that is really in human welfare. And so I think that although I can't claim any credit for it because I just simply wasn't here, I think that UBC made a terrific bet in developing SBME when it did. If anything, I would say I wish it had happened a decade earlier, or perhaps two, but it made a terrific bet. And I think that that bet is definitely paying off in terms of the exciting people that you're hiring, the growth in the numbers of students, the development of new courses and so forth. I think it's a very optimistic picture. The one place where I do hope we can finish what we started is in organizing to build the building. This is something that I'm focused on quite intensely. I think I've had 2 meetings so far this week that are about the building of the building. And that's not unusual. We're working hard on that. That's really something that I think is going to be a key step that allows the development of the school for many years to come.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, you've played a key role in support of the President's Academic Excellence Initiative and various chair programs to recruit faculty to UBC. How has this gone so far, and where do you see this going over the the next few years?
Well, I have to say one quite noteworthy thing about the move to Canada is that there are many interesting, useful, visionary chair programs that are run by the federal government. So, of course, there's the Canada Research Chairs Program. That's the most well-known, and we have about 200 of those here at UBC. But there is also the Canada Excellence Research Chairs Program. There's the Canada 150 Chairs Program, where UBC gained the greatest number of chairs across Canada, including in disciplines very close to your own. These are really terrific ways in which the federal government invests directly in the capacity of universities to make those profound discoveries, those great innovations that really drive the nation forward. So I'm very, very pleased at the existence of all of those programs and have worked hard in each one of those. I typically get involved in recruitment of individuals as well as selection of individuals in the case of the nominations in the case of the Canada 150 Chairs Program. And then, of course, very involved in putting together startup packages and laboratory renovations and all kinds of things that it takes to make things work out. I'll note also the President's Excellence Chairs Program, which was established just before my time here, but we're still working hard to fill out the remainder of those chairs. And you started out your question, Miguel, mentioning the President's Academic Excellence Initiative. That's a really important way that UBC is investing in the expansion of research capacity, not just by the addition of new faculty, supported primarily by central funds, and also by philanthropic donations, but also in the support of all faculty and students engaged in research at the university. We're making significant investments in shared research infrastructure, a significant expansion of doctoral student support, and even working on nuts and bolts kinds of things like our faculty housing and relocation office, which is so crucial in our ability to bring in new faculty members and support people who are already here. So it's a really coordinated series of investments that includes things like library support that will benefit all who study at the university and do research. So that's an exciting initiative I've had the pleasure of co-leading in these last few years. And it's great to see it gathering strength, and the hiring certainly is proceeding very, very well.
And we for sure benefited from all those in the school.
Yeah.
So to you, what are some of the opportunities and potential challenges you foresee UBC facing over the next few years?
I'm glad you asked the question with the two things side by side, opportunities and challenges, because they're usually the same thing. You know, it'll be a challenge, for example, to understand what we should keep from the pandemic necessity for remote instruction and what we should drop. I reckon that in the long run, we'll develop hybrid programs that have, you know, some significant content, which is online, remote delivery, maybe even asynchronous, but punctuated by shorter, intense in-person experiences where people work in teams and develop real knowledge and understanding of one another's strengths, and develop a good network as well. I think that kind of programming will probably be more common in the future, and the possibility for that kind of innovation really arises from the challenge that was presented to us by the pandemic. And I have to say, I'm so impressed and proud at the way UBC has met that challenge. First of all, there was the emergency transition to remote teaching in March of 2020. But then also there was the capitalization of the tremendous investment that UBC had made in the Center for Teaching and Learning Technology over years that allowed us to devote that expertise and all of that capacity to providing instruction in how to do remote teaching well and support in people who are putting together courses and putting them online with the aid of technology. So, there's an example of a challenge which UBC took as an opportunity. I think we did extraordinarily well in the transition to remote teaching that was forced on us by the pandemic, but that opens up the opportunity of the kind of hybrid learning that I mentioned before. So to me, challenge and opportunity always go hand in hand. So I think that's one of our main things to work out, and we'll have to be sensitive to student interest and follow student interest, maybe, dare I say, even try to shape a little bit student interest in the ways that we find are most pedagogically sound. I think another challenge / opportunity is going to be keeping up with faculty interest in their careers. For example, many faculty members have taken very significant interest in community engagement as a part of their research and scholarship. This is crucially important in some disciplines and becoming increasingly important in many disciplines. I think that we're at a stage where we really have to think about what excellence looks like in community engagement. How do we evaluate it for quality and impact? There's a bit of a discussion group right now, which is focused on that set of issues. And, as a part of that, but also very important in its own right, is especially work with Indigenous communities. UBC has been, I think, quite visionary in establishing the Indigenous Research Support Initiative in the VPRI's office. I'm sure when you had Gail through here, she mentioned that. That's a really important initiative, I think, and will help us to understand how so much high quality work that is being done by our faculty in connection with or in engagement with Indigenous communities can be properly evaluated and given its the merit that it's due. So, those are a couple of challenges and opportunities. I have probably 200 more I could talk about.
Spoken like a true engineer, though, that challenges opportunity. I completely agree. So when I was, we're getting a little bit lighter now. When I was reading about you and learning about you, I saw that you mentioned that the almost palpable nature of Jacques Cousteau's passion, and when how you wanted to be a part of it when you were younger. What is inspiring you in the same way now? What's your passion right now?
Yeah, I don't know where you read that, but I'll tell you, part of the story is I was furious at my parents for not letting me enroll in French and instead insisting that I should enroll in Spanish because at that time I thought I was going to be working on Calypso, Cousteau's boat, and how would I communicate with my, anyway, I'm getting over that slowly, and I'm going to take French lessons as soon as I can. What am I passionate about now? So many things. I mean, the great privilege of working so closely with all of the academic units is the excitement with which they bring you along on their projects. So just to pick one example that was in the previous meeting that I just had, there's a digital simulation laboratory that they're putting together in dentistry, in the Faculty of Dentistry. And what it allows is the education of students in the most modern techniques in dentistry that have to do with computer-aided imaging and development of models for prosthesis and so forth, all done digitally, and then even the manufacture of these things. It's so interesting to me to learn about these things, and also, frankly, to find ways that we can help support that kind of innovation. There's a marvelous project that the Dean of the Faculty of Dentistry has put together. It involves philanthropic support as well as support from my office. It's truly visionary, and that's just one small example. I could give you 200 others. Across the institution, there are so many such interesting projects, and yeah, I get to learn about many of them and see if there's something we can do to remove roadblocks or help to lobby for support from a foundation or provincial support, or provide support from the university, build capacity so that the team can undertake what it is that they want to do. So I guess that's where that same kind of enthusiasm is focused right now, and hopefully it's for the benefit of the university.
I'll ask one more question before Miguel closes us out. To say you're busy is an understatement. So what do you do to unwind and sort of recharge?
I take as seriously my unwinding as I do my my work. So I do a lot of things. I do a lot of hiking. I do a lot of yoga. I do an embarrassing amount of reading. I won't tell you how many books I read a year, but it's a lot.
Please tell us, because we're both heavy readers. Favorite book
good.
right now? Favorite book right now?
Well, I just finished Booker Prize winning novel by George Saunders. He's a favorite author of mine. It's called Lincoln in the Bardo. The Bardo is a place where human souls go in Tibetan cosmology during the time when they're waiting to be reborn. And Lincoln refers to Abraham Lincoln and his son Willie Lincoln, who died of typhoid fever. And Lincoln in the Bardo. Wow, what an amazing book. So that's one I just finished a couple of days ago. Maybe a month ago, one that I just can't stop thinking about is by Yoko Ogawa, and it's called The Memory Police. And it really gets under your skin and makes you question reality in a way that is very, very thought-provoking. So I highly recommend that one as well. I have a bit of an obsession with modern Japanese authors, but alas, my Japanese is not nearly good enough to read them in Japanese.
Fantastic.
That was one of my favorite things that I discovered about you is your love of reading when I was looking you up. So thank you for sharing.
It's a great escape. Yeah, I think my partner sometimes wonders whether it's beyond a healthy obsession.
Are you interested in biography at all? Because I just read this one.
Who's
Ali.
that? Oh, yes.
Yeah. I just read this one by Jonathan Eig, and it was one of the best biographies I've ever read, ever.
That's great. Book. Yeah, in nonfiction, I tend to prefer history. So there's a wonderful history of British Columbia called The West Beyond the West, which I have now read twice because I wanted to know about British Columbia. I live here. It's a wonderful place. And that's by Jean Barnum, maybe is her name. I have to look up her name. Anyway, she's in our Faculty of Education. It's a really wonderful book. She's now a professor emerita, and after I read the book the second time, I wrote to her, thanking her for writing such a wonderful book.
It's amazing. All right, okay, so last question. I ask all of our guests this. Is there, like with all of the initiatives and the projects and endeavors that you're overseeing right now, is there anyone in particular that you're very excited about and you feel like everybody else should get excited about it too?
Oh, gee. It's like being asked, do you have a favorite child?
Yeah.
Yes.
No, I can't answer because, you know, the world, UBC would be a poorer place without any of these initiatives. I'm devoting, you know, some fraction of my time and energy to, and I just couldn't pick one.
Even that's an amazing answer. Anyways, thank you so much.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you, Andrew.
Thanks for the great questions.
Great to have you here and look forward to your continuous support and working with you. Thank you.
I look forward to reading about the accomplishments of SBME for many, many years to come.
Thank you. All the best.